G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because you can tell I am not happy. I was planning to go to the New Zealand, Australia Anzac team against the British Irish Lions, but now I'm not going. I'm just not going, straight up. Not going to that. And we'll see if I feel like going to the test here in Sydney at all. And so yeah, last week, Folau came out and made a pretty candid and kind of emotional comments about how he's interested in coming back to play for the Anzac team for Australia again, in front of his family and children. And apparently, according to Rugby Australia, he's not eligible. Despite the head coach of the team, Ian Foster, said that Michael Hooper, Aaron Smith, Richie Mo'unga, and Folau are all eligible. So Phil Ward just decided, nah, we're not eligible. And on top of that, there was a news reporter that made contact to Folau to get his comments about potentially playing for this game. And the news reporter basically told Folau that the reason he's calling, because Phil Ward at Rugby Australia had talked about a consideration of allowing him to play. And Folau is like, well, if it wasn't, if you guys never considered me, I would never have come out and made a comment about it in the first place. So he's been put back in the spot of the media for absolutely just no reason, just to be embarrassed and being rejected, essentially, by Rugby Australia publicly to not allow to be in this game. That's basically what happened. That's basically what this was. A public rejection to his emotional request to play for Australia again. Not allowed because you're not eligible. And we'll see. We'll see if Michael Hooper and all the other blokes are allowed to play who are currently in Japan. If they're allowed to play, yeah, you got a lot of explaining to do, Mr. Phil Ward. And there was also talks about him playing for the Pacifica team, which I think is racist. And you guys would know, it is, let's face it, Rugby Australia is putting this game on because they wanted to virtue signal and pander to the woke elites here in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. They don't give a shit about, the players. They don't give a shit about for Indigenous players, right? The reason they have the Moana Pacifica team there, right, the Pacifica players, is because they can't field a team with Indigenous players only, right? They're already breaking their own rules because they know they haven't done enough. And it's just an embarrassment for them to virtue signal like this whilst discriminating everybody else in Australia, which should not be allowed, by the way. And we'll talk about something else, and you know what Rugby Australia is all about in about 10 seconds, right? So yeah, so he's not allowed to play because Phil Ward says that this team is for First Nations and players who are based in Australian Super Rugby squad, with a caveat: if there's a challenge around depth of the team, we can tap into Moana Pacifica. So yeah, if you play for Moana Pacifica, which is a New Zealand team, by the way, funded and is pretty much all New Zealand players. There are, some Aussies in there, I'm sure. But yeah, so if you are, so instead of allowing more Australians to play in this game, in the Australian Lions tour, they will allow, Kiwis to be participating in this team because, hey, the First Nation team has to be filled up with Kiwis as well, just to make up the numbers, right? Just to make the political correctness, racial purity correct in this team, right? Yeah, gotta make sure the racial purity is clear in this team. And yeah, Rugby Australia. And in case you're like, oh, they're doing the right things, man. They're trying to help out the minority groups. This is how they're actually helping out the minority groups for the Pacifica nations, right? So the women's team has the finals coming up, and it is contract for them to be, moving to the place that they're gonna play their finals 3 days in advance. And Rugby Australia decided to save some money and only booked them in 24 hours before the game, to fly in before the game. So the team has literally no prep. The Fijian women's team, which is, by the way, like what, the number one team in women's Super Rugby right now. Basically, yeah, like who cares, right? Yeah, just save some money. They're just women. They're just Fijians. Who cares? Don't give them the basic courtesy of allowing them to have a proper few days to adopt to the conditions, and then have a few team runs on the field. Nah, just come in 24 hours before the kickoff, and then and then piss off back to Fiji, right? That's how Rugby Australia. That's how much Rugby Australia cares about the minority groups that they're gonna put up these Super Rugby, this Lions Team 4, right? That's how much they care about minority groups. So yeah, don't come and tell me on my Instagram that, yeah, you're racist, man. This is Rugby Australia doing the right thing. This is what they really think about the minorities in this country that plays rugby. Okay? So anyway, moving on. Let's move on to something more positive, right? That's my rant for this week. Let's move on to something a little bit more positive. Duhan van der Merwe hurt his ankle on the weekend, so he's not likely to play. He's only gonna be out for 4 or 5 weeks, so he's not likely to play any more of the remainder of the URC season. But he will be able to technically be cleared to play at the Lions tour. So I think Andy Farrell will have announced the team before that, but I'm sure he will have him in the team, but he's not likely to play again. So I don't think Andy Farrell's gonna go, you missed out 5 games, I'm not gonna selecting you. As long as he's medically cleared to go, I think he will be okay. For Australia as well, we have the same problem, literally the same position as well. Our very top guy, Max Jorgensen, really disappointing. Had a bit of an ankle injury on the weekend, going to surgery, and it's said to be not 6 to 8 weeks. So he will be probably just fine before the Lions tour, because there's 9 weeks left in the regular season, and still a few more weeks of 2 or 3 weeks, I think 2 weeks of 3 weeks, 3 weeks of finals. So he will be fine to come back to before the Lions tour. But again, the injury might take some of the fitness off, might take some of the sharpness off, and yeah, even if he gets the Lions tour, is he going to be selected for the Wallabies based on his form? Still a question mark. Now, there was some talks that there was a hip drop tackle. It was not a hip drop tackle. It was just a normal tackle around the ankle, and then the player landed on the ankle. It was I don't know. I don't know why they say this. They don't really understand the definition for a hip drop tackle, so it wasn't a hip drop tackle at all. But yeah, it just landed badly on his foot, and it was injured. So really sad to see. There was a bit of a news I forgot to talk about a couple weeks ago, actually. The Chiefs were caught cheating, apparently. So there was the game against the Blues a couple weeks ago, where it was the Chiefs hung on by 1 point or something, and then the Blues basically had a chance to kick a conversion to win the game at the end of the game, and the guy missed. And apparently the team match doctor, the medic, kicked the ball away after the try was scored. So the goal kicker didn't have all the time that could have been given to him to make the kick. So, and he did that a couple times this game, and it was considered unsportsmanlike conduct, and the Chiefs team was fined for this. I think that's pretty bad. If you're a team, if you're not part of the playing group, you should not be influencing the game like this. It's just, yeah, really bad. There was a long time ago, I remember the Crusaders had the little kids catching the ball as you kick it out, or touch the ball on the sideline as it goes out, and then it's so the team couldn't do a quick throw, and it was mentioned, but nobody wanted to say anything because it was just children apparently being instructed by the Crusaders management to be a bit sneaky on the sideline. But this is a grown adult, right? This is a grown adult. You can't do that. You know exactly what you're doing there. But yeah, so Super Rugby team has been announced for this weekend. A few, some big games coming up. Reds versus the Chiefs coming up. Why is this, awkward shape? Here we go. Reds versus Chiefs coming up first. So, Chiefs, really, really strong at home. David McKenzie, but I think Chiefs have struggled a bit to close out the game strong. So the Reds might have a chance, but the Chiefs has put a lot of power on the bench. Tupavai, some of Penny Finau, Aiden Ross, some of Sini Taukiahu as well, or in the team, and yeah, it's a bit of a they kind of focus on that weakness they're having a little bit as well. But Damien McKenzie obviously back, Luke Jacobson as well. Really, really big match for the Reds. Reds also has been bolstered by a lot of Wallabies returning. Fraser McRae is probably the biggest one. Harry Wilson comes back from last week. Tate McDermott getting the start. Harry McLaren Phillips gets the start ahead of Liner. It's an interesting selection there. Hunter Paisami is back. Dagunu is moved to wing as well. So yeah, this is a interesting Reds game, and we'll have to see if they can again pull out something, a win against this team, against the Chiefs would be so huge. And again, with the shuffle of the team as well, Jock Campbell as well back in the team, still on the bench, but again, just good to see these players return. Moana Pacifica versus Waratahs Pacifica, big upset last week. over the Crusaders. Adi Savia absolutely, you know, true champion style leadership, taking the team to a historical win over the Crusaders. Can they do it again this week against Waratahs at home? Yes, this is actually a possible. Waratahs was horrendous last week. But yeah, it will be, and the physicality from the Pacific players last week was tremendous, and I just don't think the Waratahs can handle. I think the Waratahs might lose this one. Waratahs also moved Tupou to the bench, hasn't really performed for me as well. Suali has been moved to the fullback instead of outside centre, and Henry O'Donnell and Lolaka Fakedi gets the centre position. Lawton Crichton gets number 10 jersey once again, and yeah, it's pretty much, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the Waratahs gonna win this one. I think Moana Pacific might just take another scalp here this weekend, and then we've got the Drua versus Crusaders after embarrassing loss to the Crusaders last week. They have brought back Christian Lee Willie, Seth Reese at the start. And yeah, James O'Connor get dropped back to the bench. No Havili, who was outstanding. Is he injured? Let me know if he's injured. But Drua has pretty I think Drua has been pretty close this season. I think they might be able to sniff maybe some weakness from the Crusaders team and get win out. Finally, the Blues versus Hurricanes. Old rivals now. Bowden Barris back from the hand injury. Corey Evans gets moved to fullback ahead of Steven Perifetta for the Blues, pretty much. For the Hurricanes, Tyrell Lomax finally returns to the team at the number 3 jersey. He's been out for a while, and yeah, really need a bit of boost in the All Black, jersey. And Lomax, I don't know, he's usually a bit of a slow starter early in the season, so I don't expect too much from him, but it'll be good to see, regardless of seeing back. Oh, finally, we've got one more game, Force versus the Highlanders. Ethan de Groot back as well for the Highlanders. Big boy prop up front. Highlanders, again, I think it's just, yeah, being outmuscled a little bit. Jamie Joseph definitely working towards something, but need to take that next level. I think this will be a chance for him to upset the Western Force. Being really, again, as well, had a really good start in the year, but not really following that through. Yeah, Donaldson goal kicking has been pretty nice, but I think the kicking game sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't work, and I think that the Force, yeah, I don't know. Let me know. I think if they just go up front physical and minimize those kicking game, I think they can actually do quite well there. Moving on. So yeah, a lot of the New Zealand pundits echoed the sentiment I had last week that the Anzac Test should be one of the best things come for the between for rugby union in this part of the world, and somehow everybody is literally scratching their heads at the breakdown how the CEO Mark Robinson think that the proposal is not viable. It's literally like one of the most profitable events you could literally come up with when it comes to Trans-Tasman competition. But hey, who knows, right? Who the fuck knows? They think taking games to America is viable, but hey, Anzac Test, it's not viable apparently. So it is what it is. Damien McKenzie has signed for a long-term extension, 4-year deal to 2029, which is really important for New Zealand rugby. Richie Mo'unga has revealed that he wants to play for another Rugby World Cup, but he has not committed to say that he will be playing for New Zealand. So it definitely might be for another nation. And he looks like a anime character here for some reason. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Hoskins Sotutu, more talks about him potentially moving to the US. And, he's kind of like in the 50-50, and he talks about himself. He wants to stay in New Zealand rugby, but I think an All Black jersey has to be considered for him to stay in New Zealand. And I think that, yeah, his performance so far really not quite there to earn himself an All Black jersey, in my opinion. So, yeah. Anyway, Leinster with Geordie Barrett probably will return to New Zealand after his sabbatical. Is eyeing a potential recruitment at Damien Willemse. Oh boy, the greatest Springbok in the history of the Springboks to replace Geordie Barrett, one of the best fullback in the All Blacks team. I'll just leave it at that. Next up, we'll talk about this. Adi Savea leading the Moana Pacific to a massive win. And then Louis Bieri has named the Six Nations player of the championship. Outstanding, as always. Speed, something that you can't coach. And just so much talent, this guy. Sir Sweeney has survived the mutiny at the RFU at England Rugby. So there was, so the England clubs was not happy the fact that he got a big bonus last year, and voted for a general meeting to try to vote him out. And at the general meeting, they got completely outvoted. 206 against to 702 for, 36 abstaining. So yeah, there was 65.8% of the members voted in support of Sweeney. The clubs got absolutely stamped out by the power play of Bill. And yeah, Jack Crowley still talks about that he might stay. He's talking about might be staying in Ireland. So yeah, Rock Nation. So what was his name? Stick signed with Rock Nation Sports International, which is a management company. So he's looking at expanding out of coaching, maybe, or doing something else with his career, becoming actor, maybe. I don't know. But the Rock National Sports International is like a management team for athletes. So he's signed up to that. O'Connor has confirmed the Ireland team. Dennis Leamy, Mike Prendergast, and Colin Tucker. Mike Prendergast is Sam Prendergast's dad, I guess. No, I don't know. Is he related to Sam Prendergast? You can let me know. Michael Checker, talking about Wales' job, talking about Racing 92 job. He's rejected from Racing 92, so it's probably heading towards Wales, looks like. Nigel Owens has talking about some of the laws he wants to get rid of. One is completely removing tactical substitutions. You can only substitute a player after being injured. The only concern I have for this is people might get injured a lot more as a result of this, especially if you're a prop. If you just playing 80 minutes when you're tired to go for a scrummaging might not be the best and safest activity. But I guess the rest of the backline can be considered for no replacement unless they're actually injured. But then it comes to the problem that people fake injuries, like, I got a headache. I got a hidden head taken off, and then it's just end up everybody just substituting the full bench anyway, just to fake a bunch of injuries. So you can literally say I'm cramping, and then get taken off, right? You can't, and then it's not like it's not illegal to say that a player is cramping and he can't run anymore. Gotta replace him because there could be I think sounds good, but I don't think you can implement it. And then he also talked about this, something I do agree, that being tackled inside the goal line, like held up over the goal line, is a goal line dropout. It should be, yeah. I don't like that. So I think the goal line dropout, especially like when people kick the ball in goal and you ground the ball, it should be a 22 dropout, not a goal line dropout there, because it's the opposition that kicked the ball in the goal, not you taking it back in goal, essentially. But yeah, taking back in goal is a scrum to the opposition. I don't like the goal line dropout either. I know he's trying to speed up the game, but I think that it's not really. It's made the kicking game a bit more prevalent than it should be, I think. 2027 World Cup. Apparently, Russia did also apply to the World Cup in 2027, which Australia has won. And finally, for the 2035 Rugby World Cup, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE is planning a bit for it. And yeah, it'll be interesting. Really, really hot. They might have those air conditioning stadiums once again, and maybe Saudi Arabia will have the line right built up for this, and we can play the rugby inside the line. But hey, who knows? But hey, let me know your thoughts about this game. Let me know about the rant. Yeah, so I'm not going to the Anzac game anymore. We'll be considering potentially to go to the Sydney game, and yeah, we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a good week, and cheers.